A police report has been leaked about Shanquella Robinson's death, making it clear that the Cabo Six lied, but Mexican authorities and doctors have also lied to the family, and they also lied on her death certificate. Shanquella had been receiving medical attention for over 3 hours prior to her death. So why was she not brought to the hospital, and what really happened in that villa? So in the last video, I mentioned that at the time of recording, the family had not launched a GoFundMe. Since recording and uploading that last video, they have. So if you are able to support them financially, you can find that link below in the description. And if you are not in a position to financially support the family, then just share the link as many times as you can and make sure to keep Shanquella's name out there. Almost immediately after the GoFundMe launched, Kyrie Irving was one of the first to donate, and he contributed $65,000. That just felt important to mention because he is a North Carolina native and he always does what he can to support his community. Now, in the previous video, I kept referring to the group who attacked Shanquella as her friends because I mentioned I didn't know what else to call them or refer to them as. But since uploading that video, the internet has quickly come up with an alternative name because friends is not at all fitting for what they did to her. So from this point on, I will be referring to them as the Cabo Six. On Saturday, November 19th, 2022, 8 days after Shanquella's body was flown home from Mexico, the family was finally able to lay their daughter to rest in her hometown of Charlotte. Her sister Quilla Long wrote in the description of the GoFundMe that we face a tremendous unexpected financial burden and a great deal of pain as we prepare to lay my sister to rest. Hundreds of people showed up and showed out for Shanquella to pay their respects and to honor her in the best way that they knew how. There were an abundance of beautiful images of Shanquella, and her family did everything that they could to honor her and remember her in the beauty of her life rather than the tragedy of her death. So in the first video that I uploaded about Shanquella Robinson, I mentioned that the family had requested for Charlotte's FBI division to get involved in the case. And the authorities are now officially involved, and they are treating Shanquella's death as a homicide, which her parents knew it was from the start. Thankfully, due to public pressure and attention, this is one aspect of this whole horrible situation that the family did not have to fight for, which, thank God. An FBI spokesperson recently made a statement and said that the FBI Charlotte field office has opened an investigation of Charlotte resident Shanquella Robinson in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and that due to the ongoing investigation, they had no further comment. The Charlotte FBI also says that the Cabo Six are facing extradition to Mexico for their crimes if the investigations prove fruitful. U.S. officials have given Mexico officials permission to extradite anyone and everyone involved to Mexican jails pending their potential arrest and any potential charges. The Charlotte FBI is urging anyone with new information about this case to contact them directly, and that information can be found in the description below as well. A U.S. State Department spokesperson spoke with Insider.com and said that when a U.S. citizen dies overseas, they, quote, provide all appropriate consular assistance to the family, end quote, concluding that they have no other comment at this time. This, however, is obviously not true, as Shanquella's father has spoken out and said that he and a relative had to call around to all of the funeral homes in the area to figure out where Shanquella was at and figure out themselves how to get her home.
Yeah. Not knowing, how, over in Mexico, where she at. Now we getting together trying to figure out where she at. So she on the embassy, calling the embassy, they giving her to run around. I don't know too much about Mexico. As I'm standing here talking to y'all right now, I'm just hurting all inside, in which I know it wasn't but God that led me to her. So me and my brother got on that phone and started Googling all the funeral homes that was over in Mexico, Cabo. So we came up with funeral home Riviera funeral home over there. Another young lady answered the phone, and her name was Elizabeth. And from that point on, she said, I asked her, you have Shanquella Robinson over there? She said, yes, sir. Like, Miss Robinson, I'm sorry for your loss. And so from that point on, she said, Mr. Robinson, I'm going to stick with you until I get your daughter back to the States. So that lady was like an angel.
The U.S. government did not help them pay for this transportation or cover it completely, and they also did not help them arrange anything. The family had to wait over 2 weeks to figure out where she was at and come up with the $6,000 needed to arrange everything to get her back home. A group of FBI agents arrived in Cabo to begin their on-the-ground investigation on the very weekend in which Shanquella's funeral was being held, weeks after they denied that foul play had ever gone on. The State Attorney General's Office of Baja California, Mexico, stated that there is an ongoing investigation and that they are also collecting evidence related to the case. They said that they are investigating the death of a woman they called a foreigner at a resort development in the town of Cabo. Mexican officials said that they could not confirm Shanquella's cause of death because it is a part of an ongoing investigation. However, off the record, a Mexican authority told USA Today that the victim was in fact Shanquella Robinson. Mexican authorities have also spoken out and said that they are investigating the case as femicide. Now, this is significant specifically for Mexico because femicides have been a real reoccurring issue, with over 70% of women and girls over the age of 15 experiencing some sort of intimate relation violence or things that are triggers or precursors to femicide. So what is femicide? It's defined as the killing of a woman or a girl either by a man or a woman because she is a woman or a girl. The United Nations says that it is the most extreme form of violence and discrimination against women and girls. This term was first coined by John Corey in 1801 in a book he published named A Satirical View of London at the Commencement of the 19th Century, in which he was talking about the murders of women. There are a lot of things that cause femicide, but primarily these things are gender inequality, gender expectations, and systemic gender-based discrimination. There are two different types of femicide according to femicideInCanada.ca. The first is intimate femicide, aka intimate partner femicide, in which women or girls are likely to be killed by current or former partners. Typically, women and girls are far more likely than men to be assaulted and murdered by a current or a former partner. The second is non-intimate femicide, which involves the killing of a woman by someone who they did not share an intimate partner relationship with, which includes a wide range of femicide types such as familial femicide, other known perpetrator femicide, or stranger femicide. This is the category in which Shanquella's murder falls within. There is also a subcategory within this, which is named female perpetrated femicide, in which it has three categories of its own. The first is when a woman is acting as an agent of the patriarchy. The second is when a woman may be acting as agents of male perpetrators in gang-like related murders. And the third is when women are acting on their own behalf and were driven to do so due to jealousy, financial gains, or other ideological activities. Now, I believe that Shanquella's murder falls within the female perpetrated femicide. As we have seen, the injuries that were caused to her were from other women that she went on the trip with. And I believe it could fall under all of these three categories. The first one because there were men just standing around watching, egging it on. The second, because it was a gang-like circumstance, right? Everybody was encouraging the women to beat Shanquella and attack her. And the third is, we don't know what the other factors were, but there was some plotting and some planning going on, and that's why it occurred less than 24 hours after landing in Mexico, in my personal opinion. As of November 22nd, 2022, no charges have been laid to my knowledge, and no one has been arrested or brought in for questioning. In the last video, I said that the family may be looking to hire a private investigator, and now, according to WNCT, the family is definitely hiring a private investigator, which they definitely should. So go and donate or share the GoFundMe if you can, because those funds will also be used for that. They're going to be using this private investigator to make sure the truth is being told, as everybody has been lying to them this entire time. Shanquella's family has regularly been speaking to a variety of news outlets in an effort to keep the story out there to get their daughter justice. They have also been consistently speaking to Gerald Jackson on and off camera, a blogger who runs the North Carolina beat. So shout out to him for getting most of this information out there. He was the one who actually leaked the video of Shanquella being attacked, and Bernard Robinson, Shanquella's father, confirmed to several sources that his daughter is in fact the one in the video. Gerald Jackson did an interview with the Daily Beast and confirmed that he received the clip from someone who was in that room who sent it to an individual family member who Gerald is friends with. He did not say the name of this person or the family member attached to them, and I'm assuming that this was done to protect the integrity of his blog and his source as well. If the family member of this person was in fact a part of the Cabo 6 and is responsible for Shanquella's death, they wouldn't hesitate in harming someone else who is ultimately responsible for getting the attention on this case that it deserves, and it's going to be a huge part in why the Robinsons even have the possibility of getting justice for Shanquella in the first place. More details have come out regarding Salamandra's last conversation with Shanquella, in which Shanquella told her mom that their party had a chef, that they were getting ready to eat. They were eating tacos and salad and having drinks and just like a whole feast set up for them. And before she got off the phone, she said, "Okay, I love you. Have a good night. I will talk to you tomorrow." The family has confirmed to multiple sources that they only learned of the autopsy report after making countless calls to the FBI and Mexican authorities. It was not given over to them willingly. A State Department official is now working alongside the Robinsons to help them get access to Mexican law enforcement reports. Salamandra told Good Morning America in an interview that someone had called the family and told them that a group had been fighting their daughter over there, referring to Mexico, making it clear that there were other witnesses to what had happened, and yet the police still denied that foul play was ever involved. It also shows that the villa is more responsible than they would like to take on, because if other guests are staying at your villa, they knew that a fight was going down, they could hear it, they knew what was going on, and you still did nothing about it. Now, I understand that it is technically considered a private residence in which they are renting, but if you know and there are reports of some sort of violence going down in a country that has a huge issue with femicide, there has to be some sort of responsibility or obligation onto the folks who failed to intervene. But we will get more into that later on. Salamandra has also said it was never a fight. She did not fight. She was attacked. She also added that the day Shanquella arrived in Mexico, she was so happy. Salamandra was looking at some of the pictures, and Shanquella was having a really good time, adding that she does not know when it all started to go wrong. Shanquella's sister, Quilla Long, has also spoken out and said to Good Morning America that the video of her sister being attacked is sickening, which I agree. She also said the United States State Department released a statement claiming that there was no clear evidence of foul play, and yet there is a video circulating of a woman who we now know to be Daejhanae Jackson violently attacking Shanquella. She goes on to say that this statement is unacceptable and that the family is beyond devastated and they will continue to fight for the truth. Bernard spoke to TMZ and said that they attacked her. They put a hole in my heart. That was my only child. I'm heartbroken. I can't even be a granddaddy. I can't walk her down the aisle. I can't hear her voice. He also went on to say they left her in that house. They left her there for the maid to find her. Do you know how much my daughter suffered? I just want justice. This shows that Nazeer Wiggins, the friend who arrived on Saturday, who we talked about in the previous installment of this series, the story he told about his arrival was not true. Bernard told SWOC that by the grace of God, I think that I'm going to get to the bottom of this, adding that God ain't gonna fail, it's gonna come out, that he's not giving up, and that he's very confident that he's going to have peace of mind. He also said that this situation is like a nightmare. He cannot sleep, and he just wants some truth because all of this does not add up. In an interview with Gerald Jackson, who I mentioned before is the owner of the Charlotte Beat, Bernard was candidly open and honest. It was heartbreaking to watch, but also important to see. I have the full interview linked down below if you want to go and watch that. Now I'm just going to clip and insert what I found to be some of the most important or vital parts of the interview. So Bernard confirms that the friends were coming back to Charlotte after they had left Shanquella in Mexico, and they were lying to the family.
So y'all gonna come back here to the States and bring her luggage back, sit right there in her mom's, in her sister's face, ate, told y'all story, how it happened, alcohol poisoning and all that. And then, 2 or 3 days later, when that report came back, the lady told me, "No, Mr. Brown, your daughter didn't die of no alcohol poisoning. She died, it was trauma to her neck and her spinal cord. It was broke."
He confirmed that Khalid is the one who called the family and informed them about Shanquella being sick, and then continued to call them throughout the day about her having alcohol poisoning, which is all a lie.
Point then, that's when she found her dead at 3 o'clock. Say her friend Khalid was on the phone talking to her, saying she was, sick, throwing up, she wasn't feeling well. She took a shower, laid back down, and they called the Airbnb house. They supposed to send a medic out, doctor out to the house, and they had to pay $150 for the doctor to come. That's what Khalid telling, her mom. Why Khalid, didn't give you the phone or let you hear the doctor? And Khalid, you supposed to be her best friend for 5 years. 5 years.
Friend.
The Cabo Six tried to scam Shanquella's family out of $5,000 to take Shanquella to the hospital after she had already died.
Then one of them in the house, which she was told, one of them told her she need to wire $5,000 over there so they can take her to the hospital, or so she be able to get in the hospital. I say, $5,000 for what?
He confirms that the embassy did not help them at all, but in fact gave the family the runaround. Did not help them find Shanquella and bring her home. They had to do it all themselves. The U.S. Embassy and all of the American authorities in Mexico are now lying to cover their own asses and make themselves look good. He confirms that he saw the physical injuries to her face when she arrived at the funeral home in Charlotte, making it clear that something was wrong from the start, and nobody had noted this.
I'm sitting here, looking at her, seeing, a knot on her head, her eye swole, she got a cut lip, and, that's no alcohol wasn't going to do all that, so that's just something not adding up right here.
He also stated that Shanquella isn't a fighter, and anyone who knew her knew that. So they knew that when they attacked her, that she wouldn't fight back, that there would be serious injuries to her.
She's not a fighter. She's not a fighter at all.
He believes that Shanquella was set up, which I also believe and stated in my last video as well. So allegedly, Shanquella was attacked by every single girl on that trip, with the video that was released being the first of many attacks to come, meaning she was brutally attacked, and we don't know for how long, and it's unclear which of these attacks was the one that ultimately delivered the fatal blow. Despite the clear injuries on her face alone, the Cabo Six were not arrested, and it does not appear that they were ever interrogated by Mexican or American authorities, seemingly relying on impunity, and they have virtually disappeared from the face of the earth and have gone into hiding.
Yeah. And y'all then came back here, then shut down your Facebook pages. You're not talking no more like you was before you left. So why you hiding? Just tell the truth.
All of the friends were actively lying to the family, and after the cause of death and the video was released, they were no longer answering any messages or calls from the Robinsons, their relatives, or anyone else who tried to contact them. A new video has been released by the Charlotte Beat, making it even more clear that the Cabo Six set Shanquella up. The video is from Friday, October 28th, 2022 at 8:45 p.m. It was Khalil Cook recording Shanquella while she was asleep in a hammock, and then posted it to her Instagram story, in which he can be heard saying, "We got our first dead body, 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 body," and then laughing about it.
We got our first dead body. Buddy, she too full.
Gerald sent Bernard this video, and Bernard says that he believes that this is just another indication that his daughter was set up. He confirmed that Shanquella is in the video, and also confirmed that he has forwarded the video to the FBI. Shortly after this video was taken, at about 9:45 p.m., is when Shanquella spoke to her mom and went on to eat dinner after getting off the phone. So just a couple hours after arriving, they were already plotting, planning, and joking about her death. Another video from this same night, October 28th, 2022, was released, but this one was taken by Shanquella and posted on her close friend story. In that video, it shows that Shanquella was excited to be with her friends. It seemed as if they were all getting ready to go swimming. Everyone else had gone to a separate room and left her alone in the villa. She went looking for them, and she can be heard in the video stating, "It don't take that long to get naked, where y'all at?" in a cheerful, playful tone. The group pretended that as she walked in, they were discussing what to wear to the pool, but they were all fully clothed and Shanquella was ready to go. But due to the fact that as soon as Shanquella walks in, the demeanor of everyone in the room changes, they gave off extremely cold and harsh vibes. So it appears to be just another indication that they were plotting and planning, figuring out how exactly to set Shanquella up. Allegedly, the FBI is also investigating the omission and the negligence of Mexican authorities due to the large variety of contradictions in this case. They may be doing this to further lay charges, but they may also be doing this just to place pressure on the Mexican government and the government of Baja California, as well as others who were negligent in this case. The individuals as of right now who are currently under investigation are Dr. Carolina Beatriz Ornelas Gutierrez, a doctor at the American Medical Center Clinic, the doctor on scene who treated Shanquella. The agents of Municipal Police of Los Cabos, Omar and David, their last names haven't been released, as well as the agent of Public Ministry of PGJE, Julio Daniel. But why? What was their involvement, and what role did they play in Shanquella's death and the clearly attempted cover-up? As of today, with the day that I'm recording, November 22nd, 2022, a police report was leaked to Gerardo Zinguia, a Mexican investigative reporter with Metropoli MX. It says that Shanquella's death was reported to police 3 hours after her murder, when police agents Omar and David, who were part of the DS 777 patrol, were welcomed at the door by Caroline Beatrice, stating that at 2:13 p.m., the Cabo 6 had requested the consultation service for Shanquella. They requested a doctor to come to the room. The group had reported that Shanquella had drunk a lot of alcohol, and the medical call was for Shanquella to be given an IV, making it clear that it was not an emergency when it actually was. The doctor stated that this is very routine, as a lot of people often get extremely drunk in Mexico, so she makes calls like this all the time. So they made it clear it wasn't an emergency, so she wasn't in a rush to get there. So she arrived an hour after receiving the call, where she found Shanquella. She says that Shanquella was not at all responding to her. There was very poor verbal response, outlining that she appeared to be drunk, but she had stable vital signs and was dehydrated. So the doctor then recommended that, due to her state, she be transferred to the local clinic in which she worked at. But the Cabo 6 refused, and they were adamant that Shanquella be served on site in the villa. They did not want her to leave. Carolina then proceeded to try and give Shanquella an IV, but she wasn't successful, and it's not clear what exactly was in the IV, if it was just fluids or what was going on. At 4:20 p.m., Shanquella had a generalized seizure that lasted less than a minute, and that is when the ambulance was finally called. Winter Donovan then dialed 911, stating that they needed an ambulance, and we know this because the reporting person on the police record is Winter Donovan of Greensboro. While this was going on, Shanquella's pulse continued to decrease, and she continued to have difficulty breathing. The doctor then began to ventilate Shanquella. At 4:49 p.m., the doctor says that she stopped being able to feel a pulse, and she began CPR with the help of one of the Cabo 6, who is unidentified at this time, and continued to do so until the ambulance arrived. But when exactly the ambulance arrived is not clear. The doctor and the paramedics performed 14 rounds of CPR. They gave her 5 doses of adrenaline and 6 discharges of an AED without success to resuscitate her, and there was no pupillary reflexes. Shanquella also suffered cardiac arrest according to the autopsy, and that makes sense because she was given so many shots of adrenaline. The police arrived and talked with the doctor at 5:25 p.m. The police report lists the reason for the call as a deceased person due to cardiopulmonary arrest. Carolina declared Shanquella legally dead at 5:57 p.m. At 6:35 p.m., the paramedics gave a call to the agent of Public Ministry of PGJE, Julio Daniel, telling him what happened so that he could fill out the necessary reports, as this was an American citizen who died on Mexican soil. The doctor said in the death certificate that the time between her injury and her death was only 15 minutes. But this leaked police report, which seems to have more of the accurate, true information, shows that Shanquella died nearly 3 hours after the doctor's first visit at the villa. The death certificate also says that Shanquella was declared dead at about 3 p.m., 3:15, in which she was actually declared dead at 5:57 p.m. Due to this new information, the villa where they were staying is 100% liable, in my opinion. Cabo Villas is owned by the Puerto Los Cabos development, and caboslosvillas.com is where the group rented Villa Linda 32, and a representative of the company spoke with Insider.com and said that they are working alongside local authorities. The same authorities who initially said nothing happened to Shanquella. Meanwhile, the whole report shows that something happened to her. The same representative said that the team at Cabo Villas has been in full cooperation with local emergency and public safety authorities regarding the incident from the initial contact for assistance onwards. They said that we are working diligently to determine the facts surrounding this incident, which is currently being investigated as an isolated criminal matter that happened involving guests at a private villa in Los Cabos. To me, this statement makes it extremely clear that they are doing whatever they can to protect their own and protect themselves, because Shanquella's death is ultimately also on them. And I imagine they're trying to protect themselves from a lawsuit. They're trying to protect themselves to make sure that their tourism rate does not go down. They're trying to protect themselves and make it clear that they are not associated or affiliated with what happened, when, based on this police report, they're also liable. This leaked police report makes it so extremely clear that a cover-up had gone on, very likely to protect the villa, to protect the tourism industry in the area. It doesn't appear that it was done to protect the Cabo Six, but by trying to protect the villa and everyone else involved in that aspect, including potentially the doctor and the minister, they are inadvertently protecting the Cabo Six. So everybody in this case, from start to finish, was lying to the family. The more information comes out about this case, the more horrific the whole situation becomes. As I said before, I will continue to post updated videos with the information that I find, but make sure to stay updated with the case. Share Shanquella's name on social media. Do not let the pressure die down, as that is the only reason they are investigating in the first place, but also make sure to share and donate to the GoFundMe if you can. Shanquella's family deserves justice, and we will see this through.